On such a great start to the season, has it even exceeded your own expectations internally?
Well, it wasn't. Our expectations at the start of the year weren't so much about the results. It's always about how we wanted to play, and that's what we worked on over the summer months. Is trying to get our style of footy going and get the players playing in different positions, changing some different things, which we did over the summer months. And for the first couple of weeks, it's been good. We've had some real flexibility in our team, and we've been able to run strongly throughout the game. So that's been a positive for the first couple of weeks. That's something we're mindful of, is keeping a real focus for us going forward.
And that flexibility obviously on display with guys like Heeney. So yeah, that obviously will hold you in great stead later in the season, assuming all things go well.
Hopefully it holds us in great stead this week against the Bombers. That's what I'm hoping.
One thing we saw on the weekend was the fact that you were able to keep that performance going for that sort of whole 4 quarters. After last year where there were so many results leading at 3/4 time and then going on to lose, was that a real focus this pre-season, finding a way to extend the
that was more about a couple of those times we were halfway through the third when we were well up. We just needed to stick to our process then. It wasn't so much about the last quarters. It was probably about halfway through the third when we had a really good advantage, just making sure we kept that and kept going through the process. And that's what we've been able to concentrate on this year, is just no matter what the scoreboard has shown, we've been able to stick at what we know works and stick at that for longer periods. And I think that's what the real key is. No matter what the scoreboard says, is just keep cracking in on what we know works.
And the fact you were able to kind of outrun Collingwood for a lot of the game as well, one of the quicker teams in the competition, must have been a real positive as well.
Yeah, we've had some flexibility through our team, and I think that's been good. Different players playing some different roles. We've made some subtle changes around different things in our lineup, and I think that's really helped and contributed. And hopefully that continues. We need to make sure we continue to run out games and put numbers through our midfield that can allow that to be able to have that flexibility and push and run, and so by the end of the game we're going strongly.
Isaac's one of those players that have been playing a different role, and he's just gotten a bunch of noise around him. What do you make of that? People begging you practically to let him stay in midfield?
I don't take too much notice, which I know it might sound strange, but for now he did all the pre-season in the midfield, and that's so he's been training there all summer, and so the plan was to play him a fair bit midfield this year, and certainly the first part of the year, and that's what he's been doing. He's been doing it really well. His ability. He also kicked the goal mid forward when he went deep. He can go to the goal square. He can take marks in the goal square as well. And I've been on the record as saying he's got great ability at the moment to be able to know where and when to be able to change it up, and he's got the licence to be able to do that, and he's been doing it really well.
Is there a feeling that with Buddy retired now, maybe it's given the forward line, I guess, certainty to sort of make those positions their own?
Well, it's he's not a bad player, Lance Franklin. He wasn't a bad one to help us through for a fair while, and so I've got the greatest respect for him. I said it after the game. I think one of his great legacies has been so many that he's been able to give to this footy club. One of them's obviously his ability to be a star player and win us games. That was a key one, for a long time. But the other part to it was allowed our younger key forwards to come through, and Lance was able to take the key defenders from the opposition for so long and allow those younger key forwards like Logan and Joel to come through and develop physically, which is really important. So his last year or two was as much about that as what he was able to deliver for us winning games. I think that's really important to know, that his legacy in this footy club is far-reaching, and to be respectful to him, I think has contributed in a number of different ways, not just winning on the scoreboard.
We saw some reports in the last couple of days that the Swans had potentially had enough of Buddy last year. What did you make of those? Did you read anything into that?
Lance has been one of the most popular players that we've had at this footy club, and certainly one of the best players I've ever coached. So, we hadn't had enough of Lance. He was a super player for us, and I personally had a great relationship with him, so which I'll always treasure. And his ability to be able to contribute to our footy club on and off the field was absolutely significant. And he was 36. Strangely enough, you get to the stage where you go and do other things, and you get to the end of your career, and he mightn't have been as key as far as on the field performance as what he was when he was 26, but I think that's natural, but he's contributed in so many other ways.
And just on Logan, obviously a 4-goal performance for him, a great start to the year to have that sort of goal haul nice and early. What have you made of his pre-season? Because obviously he's put a lot of work in.
Yeah, he has. But I just think the natural progression of young key forwards is a bit different than maybe young midfielders, and I think you see that across the competition consistently. And if you track his progression, it's always been about just getting bigger and stronger and playing senior football along the way. He's played a fair bit of senior footy for us now for a young key forward, and I think that's been good for him to be introduced. The young 3 key forwards have been pretty good for us. The week before, on a slippery night, they probably copped a bit of criticism. They were good last week, so you might get a bit of up and down, but that's to be expected. But we think the more footy they play together, the better they'll get.
So there's what's been the bigger move for you? Isaac Heeney into the midfield or Grundy moving from Melbourne?
They've both been good so far. Grundy's presence around the ball has been really good. To be able to, I think Isaac's contributed, and as I've said many times, he's an all-Australian half forward. So wherever he goes, he's just a good player. But to be able to have Brodie come up and compete in the ruck and give us ground level presence as much as aerial presence has been really important for us, and give our midfielders confidence. I think he's been really important for us.
Because has he been a major factor in the circumstances where you're missing basically your most senior midfield, and you've still been able to dominate in that area?
Yeah, I think because of his experience, he's been important in our midfield, and that's why it's important to have Isaac in there as well, because they're really young. Our midfield group is really young, and I think that's exciting for the now, but also for the future of the footy club to have such a young midfield group still contributing and playing well. But there certainly helps to have a bit of experience around, and whether that's Isaac or Lloydie's played a little bit there, or certainly Brodie. That helps, and it helps not only on the ground, it actually helps in meetings and various other things in the preparation, which is important.
Because Brodie would be pretty chuffed, wouldn't he, that he's just taken out the 2 blokes who got in his way over the last 2 years?
Yeah, he hasn't really said anything about that. He's enjoying his time though. I think you see that in his footy. It's obviously been a challenge for him the last couple of years, but he sees a pretty clear role here for him, and he's able to come in and contribute and play really well. He's really popular and enjoying his time so far. He's been terrific.
John, the march up Driver Avenue for opening round, is it coming back this one?
I think the club will make a call today. I think the club will make a call on that today. So we obviously did it for round 1 for the 150th year, and it was fantastic. I think everyone loved it. There's a few things to consider, I think, if you do it from now on or not. So I think the club will make that call today.
What are those considerations? What did you like, or what did perhaps get in the way?
We're just working through that at the moment. All the players have got different views. They enjoyed it. They thought it was a lot better than what they expected, because they didn't know what to think when they walked out the door. They were hoping there'd be a few people turn up. So the good thing was there was plenty here, and so that was great. But like anything a bit new, everyone's got different views, and we'll work through that. And I thought it was terrific for round 1. It was a great experience, and whether we do it from now on or night games only, or who knows, there's a bit to consider there. But it's not my main focus. Surprisingly enough, I've got a few things to consider other than the march.
Tom Papley looked like he copped a little bit of a knock late in that game, but is he all good this week?
No, he's good. He's fine. He got a bit of a knock to the knee, but he's pulled up fine.
And Taylor and Parks, how are they kind of tracking at the moment?
Yeah, they're going okay, so still a couple of weeks away. Taylor's out of the brace. He's moving around. Parksy's been able to run, obviously, with just the arm injuries, so their preparations will both ramp up over the next week or so.
Up against the Bombers this weekend, what did you make of their win against the Hawks last round?
They were good. The Essendon Footy Club they've got some real depth in their team. They've got young midfielders. We saw that last week. Their young midfield group was really good. They've got Goldstein was in the ruck, was important for them. Stringer's a super player forward, a centre for them. So they've got some real threats and all over the ground. So they've got some recruits. They've got some recruits in areas that they needed over the summer months, and so. They were stoked with their win, and rightly so. They played really well against the Hawks. Hopefully it's a big crowd here. Looking forward to it.
two Sydney teams on top of the ladder. Must be nice, even though it's early in the year.
Yeah, we just, yeah. I think it's been a great start, for footy in New South Wales. I think it's really, really important to be able for the code up here to be able to have the opening round. I think it was a great initiative from the AFL and generates real interest in the game. We had a sellout crowd here round one, and so did the Giants, and I'm hoping it's as big a crowd as we can get here this Saturday night, because we want to back the momentum in this state, and I think it's it's great for the clubs, but it's also great for the code, and I think that's really important for the game.
Did you get much feedback from when you were talking to us last week about equalisation and the grand final and things from south of the border?
I know. I read a comment where Dill said he likes the one grand final, but no, I didn't. It goes quiet when you mention about Melbourne grand final, doesn't it? The equalisation, and how come you guys got the two buys and the advantage of that when you throw up the one grand final in Melbourne? It didn't hear much more from that, but all the travel sort of went real quiet. Haven't heard anything since.